Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's On the Sofa. Probably pleased to say that we've got Mike Cook from Swindon Town Women's Football Club with us tonight, and maybe somebody to join him as well. So we've got that in a moment. Just to say thank you to Brian Hughes, who actually come on and done the sofa. We've done a recording on Wednesday, so that's in the library if anybody would like to watch that. And I will bring Vic on because I think he has some SAS news.
Good evening to you, Chris. Hiya. Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's a beautifully sunny evening here as the sun is streaming through the window. Be careful, though, because Saharan dust is about. Your car may be covered in it tomorrow, so just be aware of that.
Yes, I heard that, yes. Okay, good job I didn't clean it today, wasn't it?
It's a bit sticky when it lands, isn't it? So, yeah, SAS Travel will be open from 7 o'clock tomorrow night for phone bookings only. There's a reserve list for Morecambe, which I believe is 3 weeks' time on the Saturday, away, of course, by phone tomorrow from 7 o'clock. They're halfway through having enough interest for another coach. So if you can get in touch as soon as possible, then that would enable them to put on another coach for Morecambe away. And I'd just like to say thank you very much to Malcolm Davis, who has provided me with this little cassette beauty, which I sort of co-produced in 1986. And of course, it is, bringing to life that season 1985-86, in which we won the 4th Division Championship by record points with Colin Gordon on the front. You might well recognise there. So haven't got anything to play it on, but thank you, Malcolm, for giving me this. And I've got the set now, so I've got the following year, 86, 87. So I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Very good. Okay, so we bring Mike on.
Evening, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
How you doing, Chris? How you doing, Vic?
Okay. Very well, thank you. Thanks. I think we had Georgia on for about 2 seconds, then she's gone again. So if she does come back, I'll add her to the stream. Okay.
Yeah, lovely.
So as usual, anybody with any questions, please ask them. Leave them in the comments. We will get to as many as we can. Okay, and I'll see you later.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you ever so much, Mike, for joining us from sunny Gloucestershire. It looks as though it's as beautiful there as everywhere else, I guess.
Yeah, a bit too hot, to be honest, Vic. It's must have been up in the 26s, 27s today. So I've moved into the stroke conservatory, and it's probably gone up another 10 degrees. So yeah, it's been lovely.
Just in time for the kids to go back to school. Ain't it always the way, as they say? There you go.
Yeah.
We'll get on to how you became head coach of Swindon women's team in a minute, but we're also going to go through your career, which is a fascinating footballing career, and indeed, both as a player and in the management side of things. But how are you finding things being head coach of Swindon's women's team?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. There's definitely been some challenges, and it certainly hasn't been all plain sailing, but I think in the main I've enjoyed it. The people that have come along with us, and sort of new players, new staff have been great. It's been good to get to know Clem, and obviously with Mandy Coe and Tom Hartley, they've been fantastic. Making that transition from the club, being apart from the main club, and then going into taking it a little bit more seriously and being semi-professional, I would say. It's been very good.
And of course, one addition this summer is Georgia Clifford. Hello to you, Georgia. Very good evening to you.
Hiya.
How have you recovered from yesterday? Because I was at Exeter yesterday. Boy, it was hot. How was it to play in?
It was very hot. Recovered just about. I think it's mainly when you're on Astra, it's your feet are burning from the rubber. But apart from that, it was an enjoyable game to play in. We were unlucky, but yeah, it was a good game.
How did you see it, Mike? Because I said to you, I was at the corresponding fixture last season. I think you've just taken over. It was a bit of a 4-0 thumping, but it was a much improved display, and they are one of the best sides in the league, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, and we knew from the outset it was going to be a tough game. Anyway, we were saying before between the staff that if we got anything yesterday, it would be a huge bonus for us. So to play as well as we did and go ahead early stages and really make a good, game of it for them. I think really it was only in the last sort of 10 minutes. I've watched the game back today on the VO video, and really, we did ever so well up to the 70th minute, and then they started creeping a little bit more into the game, and with a little bit of luck here and there, they sneaked the win. So fair play to them.
Yeah, how was it, Georgia? Because it seemed to me that when a Swindon player went down, they were sort of saying to the ref, come on, get on with it. And then in the latter stages of the game, of course, they turned to game management. So they obviously were a little concerned about you.
Yeah, I think the first half, we were all over them. I mean, actually, to be honest, the whole game, I think we were all over them. We came out aggressive. We were on the front foot. We got an early goal. And they were panicking. You could see they were panicking on the ball. They weren't stringing more than 3 passes together. They kept kicking the ball out of play. I think they were very shocked. I think within the first 10 minutes, they were like, okay, this is not going to be an easy game like last season. We battled, and it was frustrating. The ref made some decisions that we didn't agree with, but it's one of those ones, you can't change it. We'll learn from it, we'll move on, and we'll just put things right when they come and visit us at home.
To be fair, Mike, I mean, I think their equaliser came from a mistake, didn't it? One of the goals was a free header at the back post, and they got a lucky deflection for another one. So, in a way, you're kind of authors of your own downfall a couple of times, but you also didn't get the luck yesterday.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say that. I think some of the games that we've conceded a few of the goals in pre-season, it's been more of a fact that we've actually given them than them earning them. I mean, our goal was a great ball from I think it was Annie Colston to Lane's Helena Diaz Butcher just over the top. She ran onto it with great pace and slotted it away. It was a great goal. That's something that we talked about before the game, and it worked a treat. It just seems at the moment that the opposition are not working that difficult to score a goal against us. But then Skye made the mistake. She's only sort of 19. We've got Holly Randall on the pitch who's sort of 16. We've got Sophie Greenslade who's 16 as well. So they're going to make some mistakes, definitely, and it's important from our point of view that we're not moaning and groaning them all the time. We see them as a bit of potential. Clem and Mandy have said that we're going to use this sort of season to find our feet a little bit. So that's a nice thing for them to say. So it makes everybody relax a little bit more. And so far we've done really well so far.
And I guess, Georgie, you used yesterday as a bit of a benchmark and say, look, this is a team we kind of have to measure against. So if you were to look at it in the cold light of day and objectively, how would you say you do measure up with them?
I think yesterday we looked the stronger team all over the pitch. Like we said, we were just unfortunate. Some of our mistakes cost us goals. If you look at their goals, you don't turn around and say, fair play, that was excellent play to then finish. It was goals that we could have stopped happening. And that's something we need to work on back in training to stop these little mistakes happening so we can go on and win games. I think it was a great benchmark for us. We've come up, there was what we think are going to be the strongest team in the league, and we've competed. We've done well. Our errors have cost us. I mean, it's not like we went there and they were all over us. They were popping the ball and we just held on. We were 60-70% of the time we had the ball and we looked like the stronger team. So I think it's a confidence booster. I think we should go again. Obviously, we've got the game on Thursday and then Sunday. We should take confidence from this. If we perform the way we performed on Sunday against every other team in the league, that should give us confidence and we should get results.
Yeah, Keynsham on Thursday and then the county ground on Sunday afternoon. I mean, as a player who's come in, you're player, coach and captain. Is that right? That's your role. Yes. You've been at other clubs, including one beginning with O, I think, which the name kind of escapes me at the moment. But, having been at other clubs, how does this setup compare with them?
I think it's a great setup. What we've been given is excellent, like the facilities, the fact that we get to train in the gym, at the county ground, the staff and everyone are on board with everything, and they're really pushing for us to do our best this season. And to be a part of the men's setup as well, it will only help the women's game grow. So yeah, we've got all our resources. We just now need to use them and utilize them to the best of our ability, and that will really set us ahead in the coming years at Swindon Town, because it will be a club that people want to come and play for, and we'll have the facilities. Well, we already have the facilities, so it's a selling point for players to come and join. To be fair, I think most clubs I've been at, we've been able to use the men's ground, but not as freely as we are at Swindon, which is great. And the fact that we're going to have some games at the county ground as well. Not many women's teams are doing that at this league, even higher. Like only probably WSL teams have a couple of games in their men's stadium. So it's a real honour, and we should be putting on shows every week, but especially in those games, so we can continue to play there.
Yeah, Mike, it's Sunday afternoon at the county. You got another game to get out of the way first. And obviously you've got to concentrate on that first and foremost. But to get at the home ground of Swindon Town, that is a boost, isn't it, for everybody at the club?
Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's, it's credit to Clem for allowing us to do that as well. The groundsman as well. The groundsman's been fantastic. Because these are not easy obstacles, and you've got the first team manager that's agreed to it as well. All the staff that do the ground, and you've got security, you've got people working the bar. They've all got to agree to that and make sure that things run smoothly on the day for us. So we're really, really appreciative of that. And at the outset of the season, I think we were promised, I think it was 5 or 6 games at the county ground. So when I'm signing players, that is definitely a factor why some of the girls have signed, because they want to play in, the best stadiums with the biggest crowds, and really feel like a professional footballer. And to have that backing and support from the club has been absolutely fantastic. And I've got to doff my hat to them, because it was them coming to us rather than us going to them, to be fair.
In terms of a career, Georgia, I mean, I think it's fair to say now that young girls can see this as a career, can't they? It's like in the men's game, not everybody's going to make it, right? We all know that. But they can see a career path to the Super League and then perhaps onto international, which they couldn't a few years back. So that must be a big bonus now.
Oh, yeah, it is. And I mean, I would still consider myself young, even though I'm probably one of the oldest in this team. Even when I was growing up, I had to join a boys team. There was no girls teams around for me to play in. So the fact that there's so many grassroots teams at the moment, and there's more coming, that's a massive factor in producing top players that hopefully will play for Swindon Town one day and then advance on into national team and stuff like that. So it's amazing the growth that's been happening. There's still a lot to go, but like I said, the fact that the men's first team, Clem, everyone around us is allowing us the opportunities to play at the men's ground, be given the facilities and the opportunities, it will only help us move quicker and move on. So it's good to see.
How far, Mike, realistically, do you think it is that a club like Swindon are from the Super League? Do you see the point I'm making? I mean, you got the Man Cities, you got the Man Uniteds, you got all the usual suspects, as it were. How far are Swindon away from that, would you say?
It's funny, actually, because Clem asked that on one of the very first meetings I had with him, and I said, look, you've got to be looking at between 5 and 10 years for this to be reasonable with expectations. When the serious money comes into the football club, as if you can get into the Championship, and I believe that the FA gives something around 250,000 funding for you just to get into that league. So that would be the sort of midterm aim, I think, over the next 5 or 6 years. WSL is not achievable at the moment in any shape or form, but within the next 10 years, if you were to get into that Championship, just attracting the players, and where we are up the sort of M4 and M5 corridors, you can attract enough good players to make a difference with obviously your coaching.
How does it work then, Georgia? Because obviously it's not a full-time occupation, is it, for somebody who plays for Swindon? So how does it work? What do the girls do? Do they work or they college? What happens?
Yes, so some of them are at college, some will be working full-time jobs, and then we train in the evenings. So it's a big commitment, because people think, oh yeah, you're playing football. Yes, we are, and it's fantastic. But we also have 9 to 5 jobs in the morning, and then we have to go and perform on the football pitch as well, and then again on Sunday. So I think sometimes people forget that the men's teams, that is their full-time job. That's all they have to focus on. Whereas in the women's game right now, even up to tier 3, some championship teams, girls will have second jobs, because at the moment the money's just not there for them to live off it. Which hopefully in time that will change. But yeah, no, it is hard, but I think that's kind of what makes these two leagues, tier 4 and tier 3, kind of really intense leagues, because it's players that want to get up to the highest levels, but they're doing everything, they're grafting behind the scenes to get there. So I think it's a challenging league, and it's a good league. But yeah, it's a lot of work that people don't see.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Exeter, or near Exeter, so I know how many miles it is to watch Swindon play every week. So, you know, you have to do the travelling as well. But what I did notice, and I have noticed recently, you got a big bus. It used to be a minibus. That must make a big difference, mustn't it?
Definitely. I mean, you can throw bigger parties on a bus. You can do karaoke. You can walk up and down the aisle. Yeah, it's so much better. But it's much more comfortable, because obviously I think our furthest game is Torquay. I don't know how far that is from Swindon. Probably 3.5 hours, maybe.
It's about 3.5 hours. Yeah.
Yes, it's a long time to be traveling before a game, to be sat down. So you don't have a bigger bus is amazing, because you can stretch out. I mean, we only have, I think there's about 30 people on our bus, and it's 6 seat. I can't speak right now. And 60 people can sit on it. So we have the space and the room to spread out, stretch our legs before, instead of being in your car or a tight little minibus. So no, just little things like that had changed this season make a massive difference.
Yeah, to be fair, Mike, I mean, when you play the game of football, the last thing you want to do is sit on a minibus. I mean, I know a lot of us have done that in years gone by, and it's not the most comfortable thing to do. And, you know, if you want a professional attitude, you want a professional way to travel as well. That's the way to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think that's the way that Clem and Mandy have, you know, got together and said, look, if we're going to do it, we might as well do it properly. So, you know, it is training facilities at Foundation Park on the AstroTurf, on the Dome when we need it in really bad weather. There's the accommodation if we do really well in the FA Cup. We've already been given accommodation to do that. We've obviously got the coach Travel Barnes. We're really, you know, grateful for them. They've helped out with making the coaches a little bit cheaper this year for us as well. So we're very appreciative of that. So there seems to be a lot of goodwill around within the club and externally with Swindon Town supporters and people who just want to see us do well. You know, whether it's the male first team, female first team, or the youth team for the girls and the boys. There's a lot of goodwill out there that thankfully we're tapping into that. And if we can get a bit of success as we're going along, especially with these supporters that we've got, it can only snowball. So we're hoping to do that if we can.
Yeah, I've got a question here from Steve. He says, last year there was a lot to talk about the roadmap. Can you remind me whether the women's team featured on that? I think it was part of the roadmap, wasn't it? The development of the women's football team at Swindon. I mean, it's a long old road, as we've said before. But if you're taking it seriously, then that road's not quite as long, is it, Georgia? I mean, I think that's the point, isn't it? That, you know, we've seen the Women's World Cup. We've seen the interest that's brought about. I mean, there was a controversy about Mary Earps' shirt, for goodness sake. You know, there's things like that which people want to buy, which 15 years ago, if you were to say, you know, there was demand for an England women's goalkeeper shirt, that people would have said, really, is there? But there is. I mean, that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's fantastic. And that comes from our supporters. And we are so appreciative and love the fact that we've got supporters coming to watch our games. We'd love to get more of more people to come out and watch us so we can form a relationship with everyone. But yeah, I think the fact that the women's game has grown and people are interested in talking about it is only going to help it go further. So hopefully we can get a big crowd at the county ground this Sunday, and that can be the start of us building a bigger and better fan base, because the fans are the 12 men for us, women. Because it does make a difference. Like down in Exeter on Sunday, they had quite a big rowdy fans, and even when you're playing, that's all you can hear. So not that it puts you off, but it's just nice when you can hear your own fans chanting, singing, talking, shout, whatever it is. It gets behind the team, and it gets us, and it pushes us through that 90 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, Mike. Also, the Exeter players afterwards spent a lot of time signing autographs, and I know the Swindon ones do after games as well, which is vital to build that link, isn't it, between the fans and the team?
Yeah, I think so. And, fair play to them. They're probably 3.5 years down in their little journey of trying to get up into that next tier 3 league. And they tap into the community programme, as we have done with John Holloway and Shane Hewlett, who I've got to say, absolutely fantastic. Not only great people, but just very welcoming, very accommodating, and people that Swindon Town have been grateful to for what they've set up with that community programme and the AstroTurf, the building, and the outreach workshops and school holiday programs that they're doing is absolutely fantastic. So we're probably on a par with Exeter City's set up in that respect, but obviously we're 8 weeks down the road of developing a new team, recruiting players, staff, and everything that goes alongside it. I mean, at the moment, we haven't even got a kit man, for example. So we've got Dave, me, Georgia, and Rich Wood, my assistant, we're collecting the kit in at the moment after games or, training. And it's just that little thing of being a little bit more professional. We've got to learn to walk before we can run. And, those little things will come in time. But all those things help us just to be a little bit bigger and better, and hopefully we'll get there over the next sort of couple of seasons.
Sure. Well, George, I'm going to let you go in a minute because you can relax for the rest of the evening. We're going to test Mike on his career in a minute and find out about that. But I just wanted to know how you see the season mapping out, because it was the first defeat of the season yesterday. Where are you expecting to end up? What would be a good season, do you think?
I think being in the top half of the table will be a good season. I think all the girls' mindsets is that we want to get promotion. And I think that's the mindset you need to have. Even if you potentially don't think you're going to get that, that should be your mindset. We should be going out every single game wanting to win and perform our best. I think after the game on the weekend, I think it's really, yes, girls were disappointed and it's tough to take, but I think it's a massive kind of positive that we played the way we did. And if we continue to play like that and just iron out a few little things, but in kind of our half and our players, then we can go on and we can win games and we can compete with the top teams in the league. So I think it's a real positive. I think for me, I would like to finish in the top 3, maybe. I think, just set our sights high. Let's get as high as we can. Let's do as well as we can. And I think with the support around us from Mike and the rest of the staff, Mandy and Clem and everyone who gets behind us, I think we should have a real good season. And if we continue the way we're doing, I'd love to be in the top 3.
Well, Exeter, I think, missed out promotion on the odd goal last season. Yeah. So it wasn't, that was a real, they very nearly went up. I think it was Cardiff who picked them in the end, wasn't it? But, they had a great season last year. So congratulations on yesterday. Sad it was the result, but, hey, it's one step along the road. So, Georgia, thank you ever so much. Good luck Thursday. Good luck Sunday.
Thank you. I hope to see you all there.
Good talking to you. Thanks, Georgia. Thank you.
Thanks.
See you, Georgia.
So, Mike, how influential is Georgia? Because I noticed yesterday she does a lot of shouting. She's obviously a player coach. She's been around in terms of experience of the games and stuff. How influential is she?
Yeah, she's been massive. I mean, the captaincy was not given to her by me. It was a vote by the players. So we sat them down on I think it was the final pre-season training night on the Thursday, and we were opening up negotiations with the players on a few things, and we decided to have a little vote on the captaincy, and she had a resounding vote of confidence to take the job. She's been very instrumental, I think, in being a little bit more of a role model to the other girls on the way she trains, the way she plays, the way she keeps fit. She's obviously coming back from a very serious knee injury with her ACL. So she's 14 months post-op with that, and doing very, very well. And I mean, funny enough, I went to the game the previous week with Lewis, her boyfriend, who obviously plays for the club and is goalkeeping, and does the head of coaching for the 14s, 15s now as well. And we were talking about her saying, for me, for where she's come from with getting no pain and being mobile with her knee and her athleticism, that she's probably, a little bit of an advance of where we thought she would be, because we thought maybe 10, 12, 15 games down the road, you probably see the real Georgia. But I thought from having a shaky start on the very first game, where she'd not played for 14 months to yesterday, which is only another 2 games down the road, I thought she was excellent, to be honest, Vic.
Yeah, Lewis was there yesterday as well, which it's great to see. Obviously he's got an attachment, but it's nice to see that the men's good team, if you like, are interested in and want to play a part in it. Right, so let's talk about you then, if that's okay with you. I was looking through your career. It was at Coventry City you started, wasn't it, as a footballer? And you won the FA Youth Cup with Coventry City. So how did that all come about?
I was originally at Wolves before that as a schoolboy underneath Tommy Docherty, and the youth team manager called Frank Upton of the time, he basically moved from Wolves to Coventry, and he took all the best players from Wolves to Coventry. And there was a couple of other lads like Dave Smith and Richard Smith and John Hathaway, some from sort of Stroud, Fairford way, and we all ended up at Coventry and decided, we quite like this. And at that time, Coventry was still what I would have called, a Division 1 club, Premier League club. And Wolves had just got relegated into the 4th division, I think it was. Yeah. So as an aspiring sort of 14, 15-year-old lad that was coming into football, I thought, sort of prefer the Coventry route, really. So, we were very lucky. We had a good first-year scholarship with getting to a couple of finals with the Midland Cup. And then we just did one better the next season, with what I would say was not a fantastic team, but a fantastic group of lads that all fought for each other. Probably not the best players, but with the best attitudes, and just worked really well with what they've been given.
Is that the ethos you've taken into coaching then? You look at, I don't want to be too daft about this, but you look at the Premier League, and there are 1 or 2 stars in Premier League football, as you know, but it's about a team, isn't it? You can't do it. There's no I in team. Is that what you've taken into coaching?
There's a few things that in my day, we had a very, very rough, tough youth team manager called John Sillett, who then became the first team manager. And if you talk about getting a clip round the ear, if you were a bit cheeky, or if you were, you stepped out of line, he had no qualms about doing things like that. So there's going into this modern day of coaching and management, I think you've got to be a little bit more careful what you say and you do. But I think your values and your philosophy stay the same, about working hard and working to the best of your ability and trying to be the best person and the best player that you can possibly be on and off the pitch. And that's what we try and do. It's worked quite well with where I've been before as a manager at Gloucester City and Chippenham. And I think that the players react to that. I think the players need to know that the manager cares, and that the manager wants them to do well, and that the manager's interested in them and that the manager is going to be giving them time and space and, you know, an ability to play the way that they want to play, but in a structured way.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you've known the ups and the downs because you York City, Cambridge United, but your career in professional football didn't last that long, did it? Because of injury.
Yeah, I had a lot of back problems when I was 13, 14, which we sort of tended to ignore. And I was sort of playing 9 months of the football season for Wolves at that time, and all the school games and rugby, and I love cricket as well. I played for Gloucestershire cricket wise, so there wasn't a month I wasn't doing sport. I never had any time off, and you know, knowing what I know now, it would have been better to maybe have 2 or 3 months off at the end of the season and not getting these overuse injuries in the back. So I basically had the same injury as what Ian Botham had at the time, which the bottom of my spine, which is S1 and L5, just came apart through just general wear and tear. So I had to have it fused back together with a bit of coral reef from the ocean bed, which has grown into my back to weld my back together, basically. But what I did is I lost probably about 15% movement, and then I started pulling my hamstring all the time, and I just couldn't get over pulling my hamstring, and I was training every day, and the specialist was saying, look, you know, we've given it a go now for sort of 9-10 months. Maybe you need to drop down into non-league football and just do a couple of weeks training, a couple of days a week training, and then see if that, you know, has any effect on the injury. And, you know, thankfully that made a massive difference. So it allowed me to carry on playing, but obviously not at the level I wanted to, which was a bit of a shock to the system. But I think, you know, with I sort of won the FA Youth Cup when I was 18, and then I was going into England under 19 matches where we played with people like Matt Le Tissier and Francis Benali and, you know, Kevin Pressman and people like that. So it was an excellent time for me to be involved in football. I've got certainly no regrets. I'm probably paying the price a little bit with my body at the moment because you know, I'm 54, but I feel like 84 sometimes when I'm getting out of bed in the morning. But I wouldn't, you know, change a thing. I wouldn't have it any other way, basically.
Injuries are the hidden side of football, aren't they? And, you know, when players are out of a side, we don't really hear from them, and we don't see the fight and the struggle to get back to that fitness. You know, often I've, you know, over the years got to know footballers who've been out through injury, and you know, you see them going off on lonely bike rides and all this kind of thing to try to get that fitness back. How hard a struggle is it?
It's terrible, really. I think it's the only thing that the players mentally really struggle with on a daily basis is they don't want to get injured. They want to be playing as much as they possibly can, and obviously while they're at the team, it means they're not playing, they're not selected, they're not part of every, you know, day banter and everything that goes along with it. So it does make a massive difference, and I think it takes a huge mental ability to get over injuries. I mean, I know with myself that I got over the spinal fusion, and I came back and I was doing well, and the hamstring was fine. And then I went out on loan to somebody like Cambridge City, I think it was, and I just stretched for a ball as somebody come across, and then I had my knee snapped in half with my tibia and my fibia. So I had a major break of the leg, which was then another 2 years out of the game. And it, you know, I've still got the plate in my ankle at the moment, which is holding everything together. And on cold days or wet days or damp days, it's murder. You know, it's a constant reminder that you know, you do put your body on the line a little bit when you're a player. Any athlete does, and you know, obviously you don't mind making those sacrifices because of the rewards that you get for that as well. And I don't mean monetary rewards. I mean rewards for playing the game and, you know, competing against your peers and challenging yourself week in, week out is a fantastic drug, and it's the only drug that I ever needed anyway.
There's a program on BBC One at the moment, late on a Monday night actually, where players are trying to impress and get contracts. I don't know if you've seen it. And there's one particular player. He was at Southampton. He did cruciate ligament on one knee, took ages to get back. Then he did cruciate ligament in another knee, took him ages to get back. Now he's dislocated his shoulder. And you just think, you know, the luck sometimes is not there, is it? You do need the luck.
No, you do, definitely. And in my day job, I work for the Professional Footballers Association. So last couple of weeks ago, we invited 30 pros that were associated and signed to professional clubs who have found themselves on the dole, and you know, they're wandering around like lost souls at the moment. They probably feel like they've missed the boat for signing for the start of the season. So we did a couple of 3 training days up at Champneys Leisure Hotel in Leicester, just to give them a bit of fitness, give them a little bit of self-esteem, talk to them a couple of workshops about mental health and you know, where they're likely to go and end up. So that was hugely important to some of those players, because basically once you've been released by the club, that's it. You know, you're gone. You're not thought of. The next one comes in, and it's a bit of you know, a treadmill of players that come in and out of the club, and it's very easy to get a little bit despondent and, you know, not feel wanted. And obviously you've got to be good enough to earn the contracts. But you know, some of these kids that have played football since they were 8, 9, 10 and signed on at pro clubs when they're 7, 8, 9. And then all of a sudden somebody comes around to them when they're 20 and says, no, you're not for me, you're released. And, you know, all they know is football, and it's tough. You know, it's tough for a few people, and it's you know, the PFA are there to help them.
Sure. I mean, when did coaching first come into it then? Because obviously you wanted to stay in football. You'd been at, I think, Wickham and Corby and Cambridge and places like that. And then Gloucester, Cinderford and Chippenham. I mean, as in managerial roles, when did coaching first come into it?
When I first had to finish, I think I was about 22 then. And Gary Johnson, who's now the Torquay United manager, he was the youth team manager at Cambridge United. And he just invited me along just to do a bit of coaching with the lads, and he watched the session, which I look back now was absolutely rubbish and terrible session. And he said, oh, it's fantastic, you should do a bit of this, you'll be really good at it. And I just took a little bit of heart from that, and I thought, right, okay, then I'll do my coaching badges. And he actually paid for me to do them. Which I'm forever eternally grateful for his support. And he basically took me under his wing for the next 2 years and said, you know, come and be the under-16s manager, which I loved, and really got into. Started working with a lad called Paul Ashworth, whose brother is Dan Ashworth, who works now at Newcastle, but was the head of the FA in the England setup. And Paul's still abroad, I think, at the moment with Riga FC, and doing a fine job there. So he, you know, for me was one of those people, Gary Johnson, who just sort of said, look, I've been where you've been, and looking around, you know, scraping to try and get a bit of a living, and being a little bit of a lost soul, and thinking, what am I going to do next after football? And you know, thankfully he turned me on to that, which was great.
You seem to have the ability for keeping sides in leagues, because you seem to take over sides when they're, how can we put this, struggling a little bit, and turn it around. How easy is that to do?
It's not as difficult as what I would have thought it would have been maybe sort of 10, 12 years ago. There's a lot of things that I've learned with the PFA and within those jobs that I've taken as part-time roles to work alongside my main job. And I think that now how I understand the game, when we're in possession, out of possession, transition, counter-attacking and being counter-attacked as well, I think it makes a lot more sense. It's taken maybe sort of 4, 5, 6 years longer than I would have expected. But I feel, you know, some of the non-league jobs that I've had, that we've been going into it with our eyes wide open, and we know exactly what works and what doesn't work. And, you know, when I'm training our coaches up, and looking at people like, you know, Charlie Austin and Gav Gunning, who's come along on the UEFA B recently in the last sort of year, that, you know, once we've opened up a bit of debate with those sort of players and the standard and the ilk that they've played, it's a lot easier to have those discussions on what works and what doesn't work. And, you know, I've been very fortunate to work with some excellent coaches and excellent potential managers and coaches. So hopefully, you know, I've picked up on that and done reasonably well.
Yeah, I was looking at your qualifications. You got a few, haven't you? UEFA Pro A, B, and C licenses. So that's pretty much it, isn't it? Is that the full set?
Yeah, it is. And you know, it was an ambition of mine that when I spoke to a couple of people and said, you know, what route would you go down? And I've been offered a couple of jobs in the last sort of 4 or 5 years at pro clubs to be head of coaching and technical directors. And it, you know, if I'm honest, it hasn't really floated my boat. I like working on the pitch, and I like doing the coaching. I like doing the coach education. I like working with potential coaches and managers. You know, we've had our department, not me personally, but we've had a lot to do with people like Steven Gerrard, Frankie Lampard, and getting them into management and seeing how they work, or, you know, they don't work in their roles. So you know, I'm very, very lucky to be in the job that I am full time, but to do the part-time job with Swindon Town and anything that I've done before, you know, allows me to sort of fine tune that bit and see what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, you know Brian Hughes, and we had him on this last week, and he says to pass on his very best to you. But he was saying, of course, when you get into management, you have the phone call late on a Friday night, you know, so-and-so can't play because, I don't know, he's going to a wedding or something or other. It's that sort of thing that you don't have as a player, because all you're doing as a player is looking after yourself, isn't it? But then all of a sudden, you've got the umbrella, haven't you? You're in charge of a lot of it. Yeah.
I've been an assistant manager, and I didn't like it. I didn't like not having the responsibility. I didn't like being, it's down to me. I quite like the fact, I know some managers and coaches that I work with now, and I work with them on a Saturday afternoon going to Football League games, Premier League games, and they absolutely hate the Saturday afternoon. And I love it. I love the fact that you're going to just be, you know, challenging your knowledge and your know-how and your tactics against the opposition. And even when it's, you know, a disappointing result, you know, like yesterday, for example, you can still get quite a lot of positives out of it. And you know, I'm sort of I'm surprised sometimes that some of the footballers that get into the management and the coaching are doing it because that's all they know. They don't know anything more. And, you know, if I can help them with that a little bit, then, you know, that's what I'm going to try and do.
What do you look for in a coach then? You mentioned Charlie and you mentioned Gav. I mean, obviously Charlie's come back to Swindon, a complete and utter legend, but he wants to get into the coaching side of things. So what is your advice to somebody like Charlie Austin?
I think when you first get to meet Charlie and Gav, it always amazes me the knowledge and the content that they've got on board. And obviously working with ex-players and current players, you would expect that up to a point. But because Charlie's always having a laugh and a joke, and he's a bit chirpy chappy, you think some people don't take him as seriously as maybe they should. And I think that when he's delivered sessions, when he's done his workshops, when he's done his presentations with us, as with Gav, you're always amazed about how deep and detailed it can be. And obviously their first priority at the moment is playing. They want to play and they want to be in the team. But you can see, you know, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, as they get towards their sort of late 30s, early 40s, these people are going to make good coaches. They're going to make good managers, and they're people that I personally, I'd hang my hat on them, because I think they're going to do a good job. Sometimes they need a little help with getting the right person in on board with them as well. I know you know, one of my good friends knows Mark McGregor, and he knows Wayne Hatswell, for example. And some of the things that Macca has said about Hats is, you know, he's fantastic. He's probably one of his best coaches that he's seen in the last sort of 8 or 9 years, and he's very detailed. He's very thorough, and that would be lovely for me to come in and maybe see that in, you know, at the workplace and see how he works and that. And I know Flinny from I played against him a couple of times, and with his attitude and his desire to win, I just think it was a brilliant appointment by the club, and you know, fair play to him for doing that.
We were talking to Georgia earlier on, of course, and she's a player coach. I mean, can you see the day when, you know, there are predominantly women managers in women's football, and you know, because obviously, you know, the greater experience they're getting at the top level of playing, that experience might come through to the managerial side. Do you think that's going to be a thing in years to come?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's only probably a natural progression of what should happen. You know, if you look at the England women's manager at the moment, Serena Weigman, then you'd have to say that you know, she's done a fantastic job with the Euros and with the World Cup, and she's one of those people that you know, I analyse quite a lot when I see games and I'm looking at the team shape and her substitutions and what she's doing to affect the game. And you know, I think she's fantastic and well deserved, with, you know, getting all the plaudits at the moment for what she's achieved. And yeah, I can see, I mean, some of the female coaches that we have on the courses, they're very knowledgeable and they're very good, and they're exciting young talents, and you can see them being exceptional over the next sort of 5-10 years, really.
And what about the step into the men's game? Because Emma Hayes was linked with the Swindon job a few years back, and, you know, Forest Green briefly had a woman as a first team coach in pre-season. Is that a thing? Do you think, is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a few barriers to that, though, as well. I think that a lot of the chairman and the board of directors are males on you know, the boards and decision makers at the football clubs at the moment. So I could see that probably taking a little bit more time. I listened to Emma on Talk Sport on probably Thursday or Friday of last week, and she's quite dismissive of managing a men's team. I don't think she sees herself being there at all. What I would say from my own point of view, when I started doing coaching and managing in the female game with Cambridge United over 30 years ago, that it's very different, and it's something that you would have to learn as you go along, because you're going to get chucked into it, and there's not a lot of clubs that want to do that. And if you do that, then you've got to give them time to settle in, and I don't think you get time at pro clubs, to be honest.
I was going to say, time in football management don't seem to go hand in hand, do they, to be honest?
No.
Now, let me ask you this question. This is from Mike Dixon, who's a great supporter of the women's team, of course. He said, where and when will Swindon women play midweek matches with refs at Foundation Park not allowed to use whistles after 9 o'clock? No one seems to know the answer. Part of the planning permission, so we couldn't use whistles at training, which is bizarre, bearing in mind what goes on at the county ground midweek when you have a match there. Is that a thing then? Do you know about that?
I didn't know about it, no. I was only watching a boys under 14 game the other night at training, and that was going on till, well, it must have been 8-9 o'clock. So I know they didn't have an official referee, but they had somebody refereeing the game. So yeah, that's news to me, unfortunately.
So as far as you'll know, if you have a midweek game, you'll be able to play at Foundation Park.
Yeah, I would think so at the moment. We haven't got anything planned. I mean, it's not so much the midweek that is the problem. It's that we've only got 22 league fixtures. And when you compare that to the men's game, obviously you're looking at anywhere from 42, 44, 46 games. Yeah. So they'll just fit that, any extra games, usually at the weekend on a Sunday.
Having said that, you got one on Thursday night, haven't you, with Keynsham?
Yeah, away that one.
Yeah. So planning for that, I guess, started How do you tie this in with your full-time job? Is it a case of basically you work 9 till 5 on the other one and then you start on the other one? How does this all work?
Yeah, I wouldn't like to tell what the balance is at the moment with my 9 to 5 job. I'm working for Swindon. It's probably the wrong way round, to be honest. But I think that the phone's always going. You've always got somebody to answer to. You've always got something to plan for. It's a bit of a rush, I think, when you get a midweek game as well, and looking at videos and seeing how they set up and what their style of play is, what they're like in possession, out of possession, what they like on transition, and just analysing that takes time. And we've got Samir Small who does that on the analysis side with Rich Wood, my assistant, and we let Georgia off with that one, and we wanted to concentrate on the game. And it's tough. There's not enough hours in the day sometimes, to be honest.
I do often wonder how you all manage to do this, because family life plays a part as well, doesn't it? And there's got to be room for families in all this, for players, for coaches, all that kind of thing. How difficult is that to fit in?
Yeah, it's I've got a very, very lovely wife who's very accommodating for anything like that. She's half the time, I think she's glad to get me out of the house, so that's not a problem on a Tuesday and a Thursday. I think the bank holidays and the Sundays when there's family get-togethers and you've got games on and you've got to go off and do X, Y, and Z. And there's actually 3 times that I've taken her in the closed season where I've actually took her for a night out, but it really was secretly to sign another player, and we've met that player at the restaurant or the pub, and we've got them to sign. So yeah, there's definitely times it's been difficult, but thankfully I've got an understanding wife.
Well, that's good to know. Another thing is you might notice the blue shirt behind me, and it says Imagine Cruising on it. Getting people like Imagine Cruising on board with women's football, that's quite important. They were the main sponsor of the town, of course. So getting people on board commercially, that's another big factor. Yeah,
I met Martin the other day, and he's quite knowledgeable on his football, and he's knowledgeable about the town, and he knows his stuff about the male team. I think it was attractive to him to come onto the female side because there were certain factors that were important to him that he wanted to get involved with that, and have his company linked to that as well. And he seems somebody who's genuinely very interested in how we do. So to get his support and obviously the money that comes alongside of it, I think for the 3 teams to run, it was something crazy, like about £100,000 just for paying for training facilities and coaches and travel, accommodation, and referees and venues for training, venues for playing, and it's not cheap, and to get a bit of support from somebody like that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, Martin Palmer, jolly good all-round egg, I would say. Now, take us through Mike Cook's week. When you finish this, is that it? You can put your feet up, watch a recording of EastEnders, or is there more analysis? Is there more work to do on coaching? What is it?
To be honest, I had a Zoom call just before this one as well. That went on for about 50 minutes beforehand. So there's with what's happened with COVID, we've gone down a road of doing a lot of Zoom calls, which to be honest does my head in, because I quite like the face-to-face contact, but I see it as a necessary evil now as well. So we have to crack on with it. I've got a couple of A license lads that need a little bit of help and support tonight, so I'll be getting on with that and cracking on with that until probably about 9:30, 9:45 tonight. And then we've got I think tomorrow I'm down at Bournemouth with my main job, and then training in the evening with Swindon. Then we're going to go and watch Moneyfields versus Chelsea on Wednesday night, just to do a bit of scouting with them. Then we've obviously got our game, Keynsham. I think I'm at Bristol City in the morning. And then on Friday, I've got to book my car in for a service, and then I'm doing the analysis for Sunday on the Friday night. So it's probably Saturdays now are getting to be a little bit freer, because I do like to watch a game in the afternoon. I love the fact that we went along to the game the other day with guest as Phil Smith. in the co-lounge just before the game, which was great to see all the sponsors and be part of that. And probably Saturday morning is my only time away from football at the moment.
Wow. So will you be at the town on Saturday afternoon?
Yes, I will be. Yeah, I think I will be this week. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know, because I'm looking to get you on the pitch before the game to do a chat about the game on Sunday. So if that's all right, if you're
all right,
I'd love
brilliant.
I was going to mention that to you later, but I'll take the opportunity now. In terms of where you expect the team to be, then we had a word with Georgia earlier on. She was saying top 5, maybe top 3. What are your expectations?
I was going to clip around the ear a little bit if she said anything like first and second place, because I just don't think we've not got that in us at the moment. I know it might sound a little bit negative, but we're a team that is 8 weeks old, and you look at the team against Exeter yesterday, which is 3.5 years old, and just that little bit of nous and what they've got in place, and obviously their training, what they're doing, their free kicks and their corners and everything. So it's very much a bit of a fact-finding mission for this season. Obviously, we're going to go for it. We're going to try and, there was no way that we were just going to bank up and go into 2 or 3 blocks yesterday. We went for it properly, which surprised them. And, it gave them a good scare, because they went from no respect to quite a lot of respect after the 98 minutes that we played. And that's refreshing for me. I want to be a coach and a manager that does that, and I want to be entertaining. And I it's a little bit of the Kevin Keegan mantle, where you just think, well, if they score 4, we want to score 5. So I want to, and at the moment, all the girls that are on board, after all the transition that's taken place, with some that we've kept and some that we've released, that they've really run with it at the moment. They've been really brilliant, and there's a good team spirit, and everybody gets on well at the moment. So we're just we're looking forward to the next game.
Yeah, just tell us about a little story about the refreshments then, because it's quite funny. I think normally you get food provided, don't you? But they didn't yesterday for one reason or another. So what happened?
Yeah, we would normally get, I think they ordered in Domino's pizzas, and they didn't turn up, and then they gave them a call and they said, no, we're not going to do the order in the end. So basically what they did is they gave us some money to go to one of the motorway services, and Annie Colston was listening in the room that we were in at that time. And she said, do you mind if we, just take it out and go at the pub? And so I gave her 20 quid, and I think she bought 3 or 4 of the girls a bit of a drink, and they had a bit of a laugh and a joke while we were waiting for the coach to turn up. And I think it's important for the girls to enjoy themselves after all the hard work, what they've done throughout the week. And if they have the odd little drink here and there, it's not going to be a biggie for me. I think it's part of a little bit of team bonding and building relationships with people. And it was very much taken in that way, and they're I think they deserved it after everything that they've done over the 90 minutes. And I think from running their hearts out for Swindon Town Football Club, whether you like women's football or you don't like women's football, I think you can't deny that these girls are committed, and they're always trying their very best for the club, and they're trying to be successful, which I don't think it's a bad thing.
No, and the Thatched House Tavern is conveniently placed about 100 yards away from Exwick Sports Centre, so pretty good place to have a drink, I think. Mike, thank you ever so much for your time. I'm going to let you go because you've got so much to do. I admire you people, because you just cram 48 hours into every 24 hours. I'm not sure how you do it, but it's an incredible thing that you do. Thank you ever so much for your time, and it's a real fascinating insight into how everything works, and it's good to know that everything is being run on a professional level. So I really appreciate your time.
No problem. Thanks for that, Vic. Thanks, Chris.
No problem. Thank you very much, Mike. Thanks for joining us. And please pass on our thanks to Georgia as well. Great to have her on for a while as well.
Yeah,
okay, well, that's it for tonight. Thank you. That's it for tonight. Next week, we're back to our Monday night panel after the game with Sutton on Saturday. So if you have got a nice blank weekend, it's the county ground on Saturday and Sunday. So to cheer the boys on Saturday, and then go and cheer the women on Sunday. Okay, so thanks very much, and we We'll all see you soon. Bye.